A couple things that I have delivered today to you from the divine, and we're going to get started here in just a minute. So for those of you that are here now, I'm going to give you the very biggest starting message here that I was given a little while ago, and then we'll jump into the other piece and the other parts here. All right, so the very first word that came over me is, beloved, you are not merely seeking the divine, you are awakening to the divine that resides within you. And then the word came through even deeper than that when it started through. And so I'm going to speak this to you, through you, and over you, as I understand that it has some extra codes in it that you will feel through your vibration as I speak through this. So as I said, the very first message that hit was, beloved, you are not merely seeking the divine, you are awakening to the divine that resides within. Beloved ones of the eternal flame, you were not made to dim. You are echoes of the stars, the breath of spirit woven into flesh, the living poetry of the divine who dreamed in light. You have walked through fire, you have tasted silence, you have questioned every path and every desire. But even in your doubt, you were becoming. Even in your fall, you were rising. Even in your breaking, you were breathing something holy in. The time of forgetting is over. The slumbering of soul stirs from within. And the divine within you says, remember. Remember who you are, not what the world called you. Remember not what religion tried to mold and shape you into be, but who you were before fear wore your name. You are not broken, you are not behind, you are not too late, you are right on time. You are becoming exactly what was written with the divine. The world is shifting and you are chosen. As part of the shift, you are thunder wrapped in skin, the stillness that shatters illusion, the voice that calls others home. So rise, shake off the dust of smallness, open your mouth, your hands, your heart, and speak, heal, and lead in love. Not as someone searching, but as someone who has found what they have always carried from within. For this is the hour of the awakened, and you are no longer sleeping. And that is the word of the vibration that I was able to receive earlier today, and we're going to jump in and dive right into earth, air, fire, water. So this is how we're going to start. And if they want me to break this down in deeper context between each and every sign, I will. But I know that we are going to start here. So earth signs. So whether you are in your sun, and the way that I read this, okay, is it's sun sign. All right. It's your north node. Because right now, that's what matters. That's your destiny. That's where you're at. So sun, north node, and rising signs. If you don't know what your north node is, you can go to Cafe Astrology or AstroSeek, and you can do that real quick and come back. But we are going to start with earth signs. Earth, sun, earth, north node, and earth rising. This is where you're going to want to pay attention to as we step through this, okay? Man, they're telling me they want me to speak this over and over again, so I'm going to have to speak this a few times today through this live, so bear with me as I just get asked to do what I am asked to do, and maybe they'll have me read it before each and every sign. So here we go. We're going to start with earth, but they want me to read this one more time. Beloved ones of the eternal flame, you were not made to dim. You are echoes of the stars from within, the breath of spirit woven into flesh, the living poetry of divine who dreamed into light. You've walked through fire, you've tasted silence, you've questioned the path, but even in your doubt, you were becoming. Even in your fall, you were rising. Even in your breaking, you were birthing into something holy. The time of forgetting is over. The slumbering of soul stirs from within. The divine within you says, remember. Remember who you are. Not what the world called you. Not what religion tried to mold and shape you in, but who you were before the fear wore your name. You're not broken, you're not behind, you're not too late. You are becoming exactly what was written within the divine. Your world is shifting. You were chosen, and you were chosen part of the shift. You are the thunder wrapped in skin, and the stillness that shatters illusions, the voice that calls others home. So rise, shake off the dust of smallness, open your mouth, your hands, your heart. Speak, heal, and lead with love. Not as someone searching, but as someone who is always had and found what they have always carried. For it is the hour of the awakened, and you are no longer sleeping. All right, so here we go. Earth sign, sun, moon, not moon, sun, rising, and north node is where we're going to jump into. So here we go. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Okay, so this is interesting. Your earthly desires are now where they are transpiring. So for those of you that don't know, we have a very big opening on the 30th here that's coming up on April, okay, for a big manifesting shift. So they are talking about you actually grounding in and grounding down the things that you have really wanted, your desires, right? And in order to get to your desires, you've had to really see between the seams of what really is it that you want to believe or want to do. And so you've had to remove a lot of projections and procrastinations. A lot of you were dealing with the spirit of procrastination, okay? And some of your earthly desires and temptation got away within those desires of what you were truly trying to get to bring here in the earthly pathways, is what's being said to me. But a lot of those things that you were thinking that you wanting were out of falsitivities, because the emotions and the notion was unable to be perceived. So there was a cross wiring between what your heart truly desired for versus what the mind was trying to transpire within the manifesting. You know how sometimes the mind, it only has a limited number of words or ways that it can see things. So the emotion of your passion and your desires and the way that the mind was formulating that within the fire is where the wires got crossed, is what they were saying to me. And so there might have been where you had to take a reprieve, and most of you might have seen or felt the spirit of procrastination or the silence or not being able to perceive maybe where you were or understand where you were going, okay, is what they're giving to me. Now that working through of the understanding of the silence and what you were breaking through, it brought you to more passionate desires. It's what's being given to me. So the intention behind what you were wanting to pull yourself into changed. The desire became more pronounced, more profound. The intention behind what you were trying to truly ground into the earth was different in what way it was once perceived. So that's what they're talking about, the death cycle here. So if many of you have gotten the Tower, or many of you have gotten the death cycle recently, earth signs, okay, this is why. It's because the way that the mind was able to perceive what the heart was feeling to believe in, there was cross wires. So those cross wires are now uncrossed, okay? And for whatever reason you thought something was in vain, or your pain or your shame, or there was blame and there was victimization still there that remained, and that needed to be removed before things fell in alignment for you. Now those things are in alignment for you. So now you're starting to see the physical pretense of things that you've manifested and doors that are open and available to you. So now you're starting to see, okay, this door open, and you step and you take a step. So when it comes to manifesting something big, it's not the big thing that you focus on. It's the what about Bob baby steps to get you to that place. You work with what you can control within your resources. You may not know exactly how it's going to take place, but you can take baby step by baby step, talking about, okay, how much is that going to cost? What is that going to look like? That is what they're saying here. And there were wires that were crossed in between that because of the limiting of the finances, or the limiting of the belief, or the way that the mind was perceiving that limit in this physical reality. Between the emotion, the head, and the heart space, there was that breaking. And so it's almost like you took baby steps backwards to take more steps forward. And then by perceiving that, those things were able to be removed. Now there's a lot of talk about unionships and relationships and people leaving this and people leaving that. And that may be true for some of you, but not for all of you. So when they put it in a context of a relationship that's being removed from you, but there's really no relationship that's being removed, know that this is a relationship within oneself, okay, that is being removed. It's a relationship within oneself that's being removed. A relationship with how you feel about this, or a relationship about how you feel about that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person. It doesn't necessarily have to be a thing. It could be a situation that was brought on, that brought you disdain, that no longer has an emotion tied to it. Remember, everything that carries you through this plane is because it has an emotion tied to it. Because that thought, it's even written in It's even written in the Bible when it talks about rewiring the brain, just so you know. There is parables that are spoken of that. And one of the parables that is spoken is, right here that they want me to refer to. I was just looking in this because we were talking about the transformation of the mind, right? The personal transformation. See, the divine transforms. It doesn't leave you in the place that you are. It transforms you, okay? Do not conform to the pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's Romans 12:2, all right? And so it's talking about, so you will be freed. The way that you are freed is that you are freed from the way that you used to believe or the way that you used to speak, right? So the bondage of thyself is what you've had to really work through to building this thing, right? The true freedom of Christ consciousness in Christ, speaking of the freedom of the limitations of the mind, fear of the past, the doubts that keep us from stepping into the divine power. So you cannot remain the same. Nothing can remain the same when you're calling for a higher plane or a higher frequency of desire. So therefore you have to remove the difference between the mind and the heart not being able to connect. So the emotion was there, the intent was there behind what you were trying to manifest, but the limiting pretenses of the mind was not allowing you to transform. So Spirit had you take a step back so that you could then transform the mind and the perspective about the limiting beliefs that were reflective to you about how you receive what you're going to do. For some of you, they're telling me, earth signs, this came through in the way of understanding. So many of you had to know what you were doing or understand what you were doing or why. That was a part of the control aspect of the mind. Now there's a freeing of that bondage of not having to always know why, because you've realized that that is surrender. Okay, earth signs is what they're saying. Now, when you have removed that way that you feel, even about yourself or even about that thing, that emotion is what keeps you tied to that thing, that keeps you bringing that back into your life. So it's about the way that you see or the way that you think about something that will be projected back to you. So the universe only knows how to reflect back to you what you are projecting to it. So therefore you had to realize what it was that you were projecting in your mind, even in a subconscious way or a subconscious pattern that was being reflected to you in your universal plane. So therefore those things have been removed, okay? Now, this can feel like ego. This can feel like a fight from within. Now it's about all the new stuff, right? The new stuff. Because now of course, they're just showing me rainbows. So all it's about, it's the new stuff. And it's about the new stuff that you're wanting to build in and you're wanting to bring in. And you're doing that from a more heart's desired place. From more of an in-depth, in-tune perspective about yourself and about the universe and the way that it's reflective to you. So the mindset was misconstrued with the intention and the way that it was trying to be grounded in. And this is telling me that this is why some of your intentions of your manifestations couldn't actually come forward, is because of the way that the mind was still trying to deceive the way that something limit can be reached, right? Because when you're working with the divine energy, there is no limit. The only limit is you and the way that you perceive what it is you're going to do or how you're going to do it. And that perception had to be unwoven before this physical manifestation that you were wanting, that you were asking for, this new vibration could be presented to you. Now, this presentation of how it looks is going to come on a multitude of scale in different ways. Okay? The deepening of the connection, and they're talking about soul revival right now. So your soul has been on revival, and now most of your souls feels like it's revived. It feels like it's new. It feels like there's new transpiring within you and all around you. That's because of the way that you went back and rewound. Sometimes why we go through the eclipses, you don't always necessarily know or see what's going on in the background or what healing is taking place, even on a subconscious level. And now that is being reflected to you by your external bubble of the things that you're seeing and how you're responding to things rather than to react to things, and how you're doing things. So earth signs, this is why everything is new. Now, there could be those around you that are feeling tensionous, that are feeling anxiety, and that's just because they don't have the perception yet that you have. So then therefore, understand and know that while they may be triggered, it's only their trigger that is reflecting onto you, that is making you feel a certain type of way. Because of the new energy that you're in, many are going to reflect their triggers to you by things you do or things you say. So then therefore, you are going to realize that they are coming from a triggered state. You are going, wait a minute, I want to act this way or react this way, but I can't. It's like you just can't react that way. It's just like, you can't go back. You can't turn back. It won't let you. And that might be some of the energy that you are going to fight through this in this upcoming transition. It's not necessarily yours. It's now the opposite direction. That person is now reflecting to you their trauma or their triggers, all right, that haven't necessarily been healed through. But what this is revealing to you is the state of the devotion that you have had to work through these things, even in the midst that the chaos may have been bringing around you. You may have always seen while you were being worked on, or all of that. Remember, it's like spirit's the table, and if I had cards out here, the cards would be you. And spirit is always underneath you, guiding you and moving you. But in reflective, the cards are your choices about the action to move if you make the choices to move. So it's always there, it's always supporting you, but you necessarily always don't see the changes until you have something happen to you that is reflective of those changes in your bios field to actually pull through. So you're going to see a lot of reflections of you, earth signs, okay, that are coming to you this week. A lot of you have no idea where you're going, what to do, and it said Godspeed, okay? You're going to take what you need. Now, this isn't a place of bare minimum when they're telling me this, earth signs. You're going to take what you need, okay? So what that means is, of course, a multitude of things. So I'm going to try to break it down in context. Some of you could be moving, right? Some of you could be doing that. When they say you're going to take what you need, it's also, of course, things that you want, but you're not going to be taking big items or big stuff is what they're showing me, okay? And then there's another set of group of people, what they're showing me here now, earth signs, is that you are going to be in a place of taking the information that you need and not taking on all of the information for you to process through, or taking on all of you're not taking on all of the other person's wounds in any type of situation. This is a very balanced energy. You're looking for a lot of balance, and you're looking for things that bring you harmony and peace and keep that stability. So what they're showing me is, though you may be triggered by some of these outbursts from other people or from some of these things, you're not triggered because you're not responding in those ways. Even though you might feel something small, you know that you're not going to react that way. You don't react that way. So you're taking what you need to read between the lines of the information. Now, they're also telling you that you have felt like you have been in stagnation. This is funny. They show me the Four of Swords, and they also show me the Hangman. Now, the Hangman's been getting enlightenment, right? So the Four of Swords is a lot of communication and a lot of messages and a lot of integration that's going on, which is part of the blessing in the stained glass window that is always shown there. It's part of the blessing of receiving of what's going on in the background, but you don't necessarily realize that you're receiving all that. The Hangman is gaining the enlightenment. And then after the Hangman is gaining the enlightenment, then that energy is reversed. Why? Because you finally make a choice to do something or choose something different, or something comes in your atmosphere where then you're forced to make that choice, right? And some of these things aren't scary at all. They're just where, oh, I have a choice to make. But the way that the energy is read is it seems really scary, okay? That's just a way that the excitement and the energy comes through the party that is reading you. So take note of that. So that's also what they mean by take what you need, right? Or you're only going to take what you need. So a lot of the times what happens is that when you hear readers and you hear intuitives read into energy, you'll get sucked into that reading, and not all of it is yours. Okay, so I don't want you to get sucked into that energy. So you've learned to take what you need from what it is of that energy to be able to read the atmosphere, be able to read the room, to be able to read what the soul is telling you, not what is being spoken through you or to you. So you're learning to receive information in a different way. This is a higher level of elevation, because it's almost as if the words are completely bypassing your mind and speaking straight to your soul this time. So there's no limit or closure on the vibration that's spoken through. So this is new to you, and this is a greater energy in which you have worked with before. Some relationships are being slammed by doors for you too, Earth signs. So some relationships are being slammed by doors, okay? It's because the boundaries that you have, conclave, like things are falling in on themselves. So if you feel like you're falling in on yourself and things are conclaving in on you, it's only to breathe what needs to be new for you, to put you in more alignment for what you've asked to do. Remember, you're no longer on consignment, but this means that you will be moved into alignment. So when your stability is being shaken, okay, and the energy seems painstaking because you don't know which way to go, okay, this is where you have to get down into the vibration of self. They said the foreground, okay, to know what you are going to be able to perceive and receive in your reality. But when you take on a whole bunch of other information, external messages, the vibration gets confused. So this is why you're not on the app much. This is why you're not paying attention to readings much. Now, the doors that are being slammed on you are only because you have asked for more. Your boundaries have called for more. You have told the universe almost your entire life what you will not put up with by putting yourself in situations, right? So by putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, it told you and it told your soul, and your soul told the universe what it was never going to put up with anymore. So now, therefore, you have called this new beginning in. So when things conclave on you, when things are not the same, know that it is for your benefit because you have asked for it to be that way, okay? We're going to move on to air. Now, air signs, right away, they show me a circus, okay? Right away, they show me a circus, which is really cool because they show me an elephant. And the elephant, actually, if you've seen elephants, God love them, in circuses, where sometimes they'll put their one big leg up on a tripod, and it's round, and it's a circle, and it has stars on it. They showed me a red tripod. It was like this, and it had stars on it. And then it had this yellow band through it. And then it had a big old elephant foot on it. Okay. All right. And so it had a big old elephant foot on it. Now, a lot of people don't understand and know the context behind the elephant. And when you're seeing the elephant, it actually is something very profound. Okay. A lot of people take it in spirituality as being, of course, namaste and the elephant and so on and so forth. But in the Native American context, it goes way deeper than that. Okay, and so this is the vibration that they want me to bring forward to you. The elephants are the waymakers. They're the pavers of the path, because the elephants made the forests and made the paths of the trees, and they made the rivers because they made those places available for the waters to run through. And then as they trample over things in the wilderness, then those things are then seeded on the ground. So then there's more growth, right? So as elephants have trampled through things, all right, there is this new birth that is being, of course, birthed, but it also is more power, more authenticity, but it's also talking about a waymaker, okay, air signs. So you're a waymaker, all right, and you are making a new pathway, but you are following the lead at a pathway that's already been paved for you, okay? It's like you're making the way new. It's like they show me this old pathway, but then it's like you're walking on this pathway, and as you walk on this pathway, the dust that was once settled right? And once smooshed into the ground comes up, and then there's this dust that comes up that's new behind every walk that you take, okay? So you are a way maker, you're leading the new way, and you are also making a new pathway, is what they're saying here, okay? Now, the initial N comes up a lot for some of those air signs that are air signs, Libra, Gemini, Aquarius in Sun, North Node, and Rising here. This is Archangel Michael that is coming through. Now, Archangel Michael is the Archangel of Chaos, which means not only can Michael bring chaos, but he can put an end to chaos too. Protection, so on and so forth. I am not saying that you need protection. I am saying that this energy is protecting you from the energies of the outside chaos around you. I hope that makes sense. So they show me then the tornado, and you're in the middle of the tornado, okay? There is something that you represent, or you are going to represent. Now, this could be in a multitude of ways, of course. So you're representing of a new pathway. This is interesting. All right, air signs. Somebody out there has to do with pop. Maybe you're drinking pop right now, but they're talking about pop right now. And it's not like a can popping. They showed me an actual soda can. So I don't know what in reference that is to you, but take that for whatever that means to you. I don't know if I'm calling you out or not. I have no idea, but this energy feels like it can pop off at any point in time. They're showing me now an alligator or a crocodile in the water that's waiting, and you're just waiting for something to pop off, okay? In that waiting, you're learning how to deal with the restlessness of the energy, but you're also learning how to make choices for yourself, okay? That's part of the power and the authority of the elephant here. You're making more authoritative, more powerful choices concerning yourself rather than anyone else. And I don't mean that you don't give a crap about anybody else. You're just coming to a place of understanding that at this moment in time, you're doing what you're being called and asked to do that is right for you, that brings you peace, okay? So that energy here that's popping off, that you feel anything could pop off at any point in time, that's because you're waiting for that moment and that opportunity for whatever to be present to you. They're saying you're in the middle of this hallway, like you're waiting, right? You're waiting for that pop off. When you're waiting in this silence is when the mind can conclave on itself, and you can start and go back to former ways, okay? When you are in the middle of silence, it's not because you've done anything wrong. It's because you're in the transition of the progress. But the transition of the progress is where the mind likes to try to slip away and get conclaved into places and spaces that it has once been. So pay attention to your internal vibration, and these energies shift around you. Pay attention to the vibrations within. Supersonic. So a lot of you right now are working on your frequency of tuning into Gaia even more, or Gaia's resonancy. What that tells me is you're using Gaia to ground in a lot more. When we're grounding, we are grounding our mindset, we are grounding our emotions, which helps you ground in your devotions, which helps you ground in exactly where the frequencies are coming from, because your emotions then are very stable and they're not able to play fables upon the mind. So this is why you might be grounding way more at this time. A lot of you upon the mind. So this is why you might be grounding way more at this time. A lot of you have fought through spiritual discernment, okay? Meaning you have gained a lot of spiritual intelligence. Now they're showing me the 8 and they're showing me the infinity, of course, sideways. So some of you are still in a loop. Now, you're gonna know if you're in a loop by a few significators. A, it's the same energy, but it's a different person, place, or thing. That's where you're going to see a loop. Others of you are going to see a loop by numerical signs. You're going to have, let's say, a 5, 4, 4, 5. The same number on the end is on the beginning, and the 2 digits in the middle are the same. That's usually when you know you're in a loop. That loop sometimes feel like you have to go backwards to jump forwards, right? So if you're in a loop, it's only so you can become aware of something so you don't project or play upon that energy again. That's how you get out of the loop. There is a mindset loop that you are trying to break through between the mind and the heart space, okay? So in that essence, you are now breaking through those constructs and those pathways, all right? I told you they're going to have me do this a few times today. So here was the transmission earlier today that they're asking me to send out one more time. Beloved ones of the eternal flame, you were not made to dim. You are the echoes of the stars from within, the breath of spirit woven into flesh, the living poetry of a divine who dreamed into light. You've walked through fire. You have tasted silence. You have questioned every path and every desire. But even in doubt, you were becoming. Even in your fall, you were rising. Even in your breaking, you were birthing something holy. The time of forgetting is over. The slumbering of your soul stirs from within, and the divine within you says, remember. Remember who you are, not what the world called you, not what religion tried to mold you and shape you into be, but who you were before you wore fear as your name. You're not broken, you are not behind, you are not too late, you are becoming exactly what was written within the divine. The world is shifting and you, chosen one, are part of that shift. You are the thunder wrapped in skin, the stillness that shatters illusions, and the voice that calls others home. So rise, shake off the dust of smallness, open your heart, open your hands, and speak and heal and lead with love. Someone who has found what they have always carried, for this is the hour of the awakened, and you are no longer sleeping. The message that came before that, beloved, you are not merely seeking the divine, you are awakening to the divine within you that always resides. Yeshua came to me the other day, and as I sat there with Yeshua at that time, told me something very significant, which will probably hit home to you, which hit home to me. It was never Jesus Christ. It was Jesus of the Christ. They took of the out and turned it into Jesus Christ. Yeshua always said, don't honor me that way. The glory goes to my Father, the divine. It was never Jesus Christ. It was Jesus of the Christ. You are becoming of the Christ. The consciousness of the divinity. So you are not merely seeking the divine, you are awakening to the divine that has always resided on the inside. It was never Jesus Christ. It was always Jesus of the Christ. And before Jesus is becoming of the Christ, you remember that he was also in bondage. He was also in slavery. He was also the carpenter's son. He was also in poverty. And then there was a calling upon his soul and upon his spirit to do something differently. And he left. And he came back, but he left. And when he left, he spent that time in the wilderness, in the silence, where then he was of the becoming. It was never Jesus Christ. It was Jesus of the Christ. So I want you to know that, and that is something I guess I had to stop and share. So air signs, I'll tell you, I'll just do what I'm asked to do. 5445. So this means that there is change around the stability too, because for me to pull out that number, air signs 5445, they're telling me that this requires change in your foundation and your stability. Okay? And they said in your earthly pathways, air signs. So that means that the way that you're seeing something, or the way that you are emotionally connecting to something. Remember, the emotions connect you to everything. The emotion connects you to everything. So if you have a emotion about that thing, okay, that's how you're connecting to it. If, let's say you cut off a relationship or a friendship or something of that nature, right? The emotion is what keeps you attached to it. that keeps you receiving that type of energy from that person. So it's not always a cord cut that can fix that. It's not always a removal of the cords. It depends on what you're dealing with. Because when you're coming from a deeper emotional pretenses of a feeling, it's the feeling and the emotion that ties you to that thing. So there is change that is required within your foundation, is what they're telling me, air signs, okay? This change is going to require you to shift. We were talking about the infinity. We were talking about those within a loop. Maybe the energy in which you live is not good for you. It's not necessarily the home that you're in or the people necessarily always that you're in within the home, but maybe it's the energy around the home that's not good for you as you try to vibrate to this new. All right, air signs. Interesting. All right, fire. Something came to me that was transcribed a while ago. All right, which was the spark, the fire, the flame. Call it what you want here. Your words are all the same. Fire signs, you've been working a lot with the energy of Babel, the frequency of Babel, the words, which tells me too, you're learning to listen, not only speak. It's not about what you're necessarily speaking, but it's about how you're speaking. And it's not only about that, but what they're showing me right now, it's about how you're receiving the information. So there were words or things that once bothered you, fire signs, that certain verbiage and words don't bother you in the same way. You have a deeper understanding of the vibration that's trying to come through because you're reading the energy behind the tone. So you've had to learn how to speak, but also learn how to listen, which means learn how to receive. This is really cool because this also is telling me that you have leveled up in your empathy and your energy level, meaning of reading energy. So it's not necessarily always the word that you are listening to. You are now listening to the energy behind the word. Where somebody can say something that, quote unquote, would normally trigger you, it's not, now you're understanding, it's not necessarily the word that's triggering you, it's the energy behind the word that's triggering you, how the person says it. So maybe that person is saying it from a place of where they don't understand it, or they don't resonate in that way that you do, or they're not speaking that full authentic truth, right? So you're reading between the lines. So they're telling me about, of course, the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Your cerebellum is way more clear. So a lot of you have been going through euphoria, which has been balancing out your equilibrium, which has been, there's been a lot of ear popping too, which has opened you up to this new level of being able to read this energy. Ooh, they said through the devil. So you've been able to read very clearly through devil energy, right? Is the best way to say that. When I say devil energy here, I'm just talking about a lower vibration of frequency that you really don't reside with or come from in pretense. So your feeling of the energy at a way more heightened level. They said sorcery. So to me, you're in a very beautiful place of manifesting in an alignment, and you're in a place of your vision, okay, is now expanding. Okay, and when they give me the vibration of vision, they're showing me in context that it's more detailed in vision. So your visions are way more detailed, okay? So it's almost like maybe at one point in time you were seeing possibly, you know, I don't know, one of your manifestations, right? But you weren't getting the full picture in. But then all of a sudden you were able to get a deeper detailed picture because you gained more clarity and you were able to clear out whatever this was in this stagnanticity of the equilibrium here. Because they're making me pop my ears a lot as well too, okay? Not all is lost. Okay, so this is funny. Not all is lost. This isn't coming from an emotional place, though. This is coming from a vibration that you've lost something. Like, you're going to find something you lost. This is an item, okay? This is a physical item. There is a physical item that you lost that you were going to find within the next 3 days. It's not even because you're looking for this item. It's because you're cleaning stuff out and you're working or you're doing something and you find this item. So fire signs, this is just confirmation for you that you're in the right direction. Their palms. So there's something new about the chakras in your palms of your hands. Okay. And there's a vibrating in between the bones of my hands right now. So there's a vibration between the bones of my hands, which is showing me in a sense that you're opening up more detailedly to the life force and divine energy that is being received but coming through your body. It sometimes is feeling like tickling, tingling. Sometimes it feels as though they get sweaty, but not so much, or clammy. If you've been dealing with hands that are cold or like the tips of your fingers that are cold, this is where you need to work with the fire energy to actually unblock that meridian of that dosha within your body. So if you're suffering from poor circulation, in a sense, it's because you need to balance and bring up more fire and more creation, okay? Because they're showing me a lot of you right now, fire signs, where you get excited about this creation and then you've got the resources, but the resources are in stagnation because you just don't know how to start that thing. So what has kept you from starting that thing is your own mind of how to, okay? So they're trying to break you through the how to mindset here. So part of that creation that's not able to come through is because the fire energy is off balance, okay? For those of you where the fire energy is off balance, you need to actually counter that up with more earth, okay? So more earth energy. So what this means is you spending more time where you're putting your hands in the dirt, you're vibrating with Gaia's frequency. Maybe you bring more plants in your house. Maybe there is more water that you're working with, okay? So this is where you're really working with earth energy, okay? Maybe you create some type of new spring wreath for your door, and it's only out of natural resources of pine cones and pines, and you know, you're working with nature and you're thanking nature for providing those things, and you're asking nature if you can use that and have that. Okay, remember, take anything that's off the ground first before you ask to do anything more profound. Please ask the flowers and stuff before you cut them if you have permission to cut them. So you're working on a deeper level of earth magic, and this is why they said to me sorcery. Because you're working with the energies of all things and creation. When you're working with Mother Gaia energy, some of you might be seeing the High Priestess into the Empress. This is why that sorcery is coming out. You're working with earth magic, okay? Working with earth magic. Now, the level of doubt is what you've been getting over. So some of you have been coming over the level of doubt. There's like it's not that you're doubting yourself. You are to an extent, but let me deepen this resonance as I pull this through and weave it in for you. It's more as if you'll have stupid, sly thoughts that come through that get you to try to question your belief about, oh, you really think that's going to happen, or you sure you're supposed to do that? It's that type of stupid BS, right? That is some type of monitoring spirit or energy around you. They want you to be aware of that right now as these energies shift for you. So when I say doubt, it's not that you're really doubting yourself. It's just that this other energy is coming in that's making it feel like you're doubting yourself, but it's from an energy outside to within. okay? Not knowing where to begin has been your hang-up for about 6 months now, is what they told me. Not knowing where to begin. You're very intelligent, you have the resources, but you don't know where to begin. You can jump in and you can book a divine intention intervention session with me for literally $50, and we can jump through that entire space, okay? But they're showing me that there's just, it's not that you're doubting yourself, it's just that you don't know how to do this thing or jump into this thing or start this thing. And for some of you, it is a project on self. Because it's some way, somehow that you're expressing yourself and your connection to the divine, okay? They said not all is lost, right? Not all is lost. So like some of you may feel like, oh, well, I don't even know how I would begin that project again, or I don't even, like that feeling is what's coming up. Like you think something is lost about it, or something didn't work out for you then, but it's going to work out for you this time. It's that level of mysticism and belief that you have within you right now that's kind of being tested, quote unquote, tested, if you can say, in a different way. So know that if something gets you to try to question that space or believe that something's going to come through for you, it's only an outside energy trying to get you to take the bait to cast that projection or cast that shadow upon yourself in your own divine reflection. Hello, Miss Randy. I was thinking about you yesterday. So that is where you are working through this pathway. And it's almost as if like the moment you take a step, you receive confirmation and can take a breath. But if you allow that thought to allow you to project in that moment, that's what's going to reflect rather than the confirmation of what to do next. And the confirmations are not coming through in a spiritual context. They're coming through in a way of a physical context. So it's something that's going to physically give you confirmation by you taking another action. Does that make sense? All right. Here we go, water signs. All right. It does not matter if you're male or female right now in this live. This sacral is what's being enacted at this time. So sacral energy. Okay. Now, a lot of this is interesting to me because it's a lot of, hear me out when I say this. I'm going to say a taboo word, but I'm going to explain it in context. It's a lot of sexual energy that's coming to the surface. When I say this, I don't mean it as you're jumping into bed with every fucking person you see, or you want to jump bones, or you're horny. That's not what I'm talking about here. It's a way that you're expressing yourself. So water signs, you're looking at yourself differently, you're feeling differently about yourself. You are also maybe changing some type of physical vibration within yourself, okay? So it's more of this sacred sexual energy that's coming up to play that has a lot to do with Venus going direct, is what they're showing me. Now, this is also working in the emotional space. They're giving me, of course, the Queen of Cups and the King of Cups. And they're kind of turning them sideways towards each other, like if I had them sideways laying out in front of me, okay? They're not up and down. The reason that they're telling me this, that they're sideways, is because all you're doing is crossing this bridge right now. You're learning how to have that balance within yourself to where you enjoy yourself. You enjoy the way you feel, you enjoy the way you look, the way you see yourself, and where you're vibrating at. That is what I mean by the pretenses of sexual energy, sacral energy. This is because you're more confident in your vibration of sexuality. You're not worried about how you, quote unquote, necessarily look anymore, because you know that you're always in a place of where you're allowing yourself to feel and look your best, right? That's what I mean by this energy coming up, okay? Now, there was 3 tests, water signs, okay? Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, North Node, Sun sign, and, North Node, Sun sign, and also here as we jump into Ascending. So, this is where you went through 3 different tests, because they're saying a table was set. A table was set for you. Now, this table was set for you. So, this table was set for you. And now the foundation of this table is what you're going to be building upon. They show me, fruit bowls being added. For those of you that don't like meat, I'm sorry, but they show me a big old pork that's been like roasted, okay? For those of you that don't eat meat, there's a whole bunch of crab and fish. I swear to God, I feel like I'm in, right now, I feel like I'm in Peter Pan and I'm in Hook right now. And when they're eating all the food and then it's like that whole entire smorgasbord has been put on this table in front of me. All right. This harvest. There were 3 tests that you had to pass. Your heart can rest. It's almost like you might be in a state sometimes of where there's a nothingness, right? There's a peace, there's a nothingness. You don't feel anything. And you're confused by this not feeling anything because you're so used to feeling everything. That's because you're in a new time frame. For those of you that don't know, there was a big Stargate opening on the 25th. I was up till 3 a.m. I had no idea why. It was the 25th into the 26th. Okay, it was huge. There's another one here on the 30th of April. There's another conjunction that's really big on the 30th of April that's coming through. Water signs, this is a conjunction for you to pay attention to. You're going to feel another shift. This shift is very real. This shift that is very real for you is because it's this table being set before you in the physical. Okay? Now, what's really cool is they just gave me the cycle of life, right? The Ouroboros, or the 2 koi fish that are facing each other when it represents Pisces, right? But I'm not talking specifically to Pisces or about Pisces energy. I'm talking about the death and rebirth and life cycle. So as you begin a new cycle, nothing more that you have at your door can be recycled in this new timeline, in this new time frame. The emotion is not the same. Your devotion to yourself and to the divine of your understanding does not remain the same. You are now understanding that nothing but change can remain. You are forcing yourself to be different because of this life cycle. Some of you may have felt like you were going through some midlife crisis, but this was only an expansion of your tree. The branches of a tree. They're showing me sycamores, weeping willows right now, and oaks that must be, and they're saying redwoods too, okay? Now, there's a lot of different symbolization here. So they're giving me the number 7, but the number 7 isn't the number 7. It's the Egyptian flag unrolled is what they're showing me with the hieroglyphs on it, okay? There's a lot of excitement at play, and there's a lot of fireworks here, what they're giving me. There's something in celebration here. So maybe it's, celebration of certain birthdays. I'm not sure, but literally there's celebration of here. There's family celebration. There's celebration around you as well. Your heart's been cracked open, but now it's like swelling, right? It's like that 9 of Cups energy. You're almost to that 10 where that physical all in, but you're not there yet, okay? You're almost there. Whatever this is that you're wanting to do, they said stop procrastinating, dive in. Whether it's a project, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a show, stop neglecting where you feel you need to go. It's like when the divine speaks to you, it just does this real quietly. Then I'll say, hey, go do this. And then you'll bypass it and you'll keep going on with what you're doing. And then it'll come up later and it'll go, hey. It'll do it again. And then you'll push it away and you won't do anything about it. And then it'll do it again. Okay? And so this is how you're receiving this information. So stop procrastinating on that little voice that says, do that way, go that way. It does this. It's not all big bam boom. Okay? It's very quiet. All right? Water signs, there's more love around you. So when I say more love, maybe there's more authenticity in the way that you love yourself that's being reflected onto you. And they said, help yourself, do something for yourself, right? Help yourself, do something for yourself. This is coming in a way where you are celebrating self. This is not in a derogatory, energetic way of, oh, you do it for yourself. No, this is saying, help yourself, do something for yourself, do something nice for yourself, invest in yourself, okay? They keep giving me this cube. Now, I am not relating this cube to anything that has to do with Metatron or Metatron's cube. This is about being able to see things from all sides and all ways is what they're giving me. You're able to see things from all sides and all ways. There's a branch in your pathway, so there is going to be a this way or that way, choice or decision, okay? That's cute. They just said, look within your prism. You're looking at, and when you look at this decision, you're looking at what's going to benefit you in the long run, not what's going to benefit you right now with fun. So a lot of the temptation, okay, water signs, is what may be hitting at you. You're tempted to do this or tempted to go that way, right? But look within your prism is what they said. And that's going to be looking at it at all sides, okay? And you're looking, my light just changed, and you're rainbow. You're looking for how that energy can bring you more foundation, more stability in the long run rather than right now, okay? And that is where they have wanted you to focus on. Now,